In the vast emptiness of space, a massive structure floated. It looked like a giant silver flower, with petals stretching out for miles. This was the home of the Galactic Council, where the most powerful alien races in the Milky Way met to discuss important matters. Inside the main hall, creatures of all shapes and sizes gathered. Some had blue skin and 4 arms. Others looked like talking trees. A few were just clouds of glowing gas. They all shared one thing. They thought they were the smartest beings in the universe. At the center of the hall stood Zixax, the head of the council. He was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like metal. His eyes, all 6 of them, blinked as he called for quiet. "Fellow members of the Galactic Council," Zixax said, his voice booming through the hall. "Today we welcome a new species to our ranks. They call themselves humans." A murmur spread through the crowd. Many had heard of these humans, but few had met them. They came from a small blue planet called Earth, far from the center of galactic civilization. As Zixax spoke, a side door opened. In walked 2 humans, a man and a woman. They looked tiny compared to most of the aliens, and very plain with their 2 arms, 2 legs, and single head. The man had dark skin and short black hair, while the woman was pale with long red hair. They both wore simple blue uniforms with a patch showing Earth on their shoulders. "May I present Ambassador John Chen and Ambassador Sarah O'Connor of Earth," Zixax announced. The human ambassadors bowed slightly, looking nervous but excited. John stepped forward to speak. "Greetings, honored members of the Galactic Council," he said, his voice steady despite his nerves. "On behalf of Earth and all humans, we thank you for this opportunity to join your esteemed ranks." Sarah added, "We look forward to sharing our knowledge and learning from all of you." The alien representatives stared at the humans with a mix of curiosity and amusement. One creature that looked like a giant caterpillar turned to its neighbor, a floating crystal, and whispered, "They're so squishy. How did they ever make it to space?" The crystal flickered in agreement. "I heard they still used fossil fuels on their planet." "Imagine that." Zixax raised a hand for silence. "Ambassadors, we welcome Earth to the galactic community. However, we must address certain concerns." John and Sarah exchanged worried glances. They had expected this. "It has come to our attention," Zixax continued, "that despite achieving space travel, your species still engages in armed conflicts on your own planet. This is most disturbing." A hologram appeared in the center of the hall, showing images of Earth's militaries. Tanks rolled across deserts, ships sailed on vast oceans, and planes soared through the sky. The alien representatives gasped and muttered among themselves. "Furthermore," Zixax said, his tone growing stern, "your primary weapons seem to be projectile-based firearms. Such crude and barbaric tools have no place in a civilized galaxy." The hologram zoomed in on soldiers carrying rifles and pistols. The aliens' reactions ranged from disgust to laughter. Sarah stepped forward, her face flushed. "With all due respect, our weapons may seem simple to you, but they are highly effective for our needs, and we have strict protocols." A large tentacled creature interrupted her. "Effective? Ha! We gave up such primitive tools eons ago. Real weapons harness the power of stars or bend the fabric of space-time itself." More laughter filled the hall. John tried to speak, but his words were drowned out by the noise. Zixax raised all 4 of his arms. "Order, order, please." When the room quieted, he turned back to the human ambassadors. "While we appreciate Earth's eagerness to join us, it's clear that your species has much to learn. We recommend focusing on peaceful technologies and leaving matters of galactic security to more advanced races." John opened his mouth to argue, but Sarah placed a hand on his arm and shook her head slightly. This wasn't the time or place. "We understand," Sarah said, forcing a smile. "We look forward to learning from the Council's wisdom." As the meeting moved on to other topics, John and Sarah stood silently, their expressions a mix of frustration and determination. They knew Earth had more to offer than the Council realized. Someday, they would prove it. Little did anyone in that grand hall know, but that day would come sooner than they thought. And when it did, the Galactic Council would learn that sometimes the simplest tools could be the most surprising. A week after their first meeting with the Galactic Council, John Chen and Sarah O'Connor sat in their small office on the space station. They were surrounded by holographic screens showing information about Earth's military capabilities. "We have to do something, Sarah," John said, running a hand through his short black hair. "They think we're just dumb apes with sticks." Sarah nodded, her red ponytail bobbing. "I know, but how do we show them what we can do without starting a war?" Just then, their communication device beeped. A message from Zigzags appeared. "Ambassadors, the Council requests a detailed presentation on Earth's defense capabilities. Tomorrow, Main Hall, 900 Galactic Standard Time." John and Sarah looked at each other, both excited and nervous. "This is our chance," John said with a grin. The next morning, they stood before the Galactic Council again. This time, they were ready. "Honored members of the Council," Sarah began, her voice clear and confident. "We understand your concerns about Earth's military technology. Today, we hope to show you that while our methods may be different, they are far from primitive." With a wave of her hand, Sarah activated a large hologram in the center of the hall. It showed a detailed image of an Earth soldier in full combat gear. "This is a standard infantry soldier," John explained. He pointed to the rifle in the soldier's hands. "And this is our primary weapon, the M4 carbine." A creature that looked like a giant purple slug leaned forward. "You mean you still use chemical propellants and metal projectiles? How quaint." Laughter rippled through the hall. John felt his face grow hot, but he kept his cool. "Yes, we do," he said, "but let me show you why." The hologram changed to show a high-speed video of the rifle firing. The alien representatives watched as the bullet tore through various materials: steel, concrete, even advanced alien armor. "Our primitive bullets can penetrate most known materials," Sarah explained. "They're simple, reliable, and devastatingly effective." The laughter died down, replaced by murmurs of surprise. Next, they showed videos of other Earth weapons: tanks crushing obstacles, ships launching missiles, planes dropping smart bombs. With each demonstration, the alien representatives grew quieter and more attentive. A floating crystal being spoke up: "Impressive for solid matter weapons, but surely they're useless against energy shields." John smiled. "We thought you might say that." He nodded to Sarah, who changed the hologram again. This time, it showed a strange-looking gun. It was bulky and had what looked like a small satellite dish on the end. "This is our latest development," John said. "We call it the EMP rifle. It fires a focused electromagnetic pulse that can disable energy shields and advanced electronics." To demonstrate, they played a video of the EMP rifle in action. It fired a blue beam that made energy shields flicker and die, leaving the targets vulnerable. The council chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Zigzags leaned forward, all 6 of his eyes wide. How did you develop such technology?" he asked. Sarah smiled. "We may be new to the galactic stage, but humans are very good at adapting and improving on ideas. We studied the energy shields we encountered and found a weakness." For the first time, the council members looked at the human ambassadors with something close to respect. But it didn't last long. A being made of swirling gas floated forward. "Clever toys," it said, its voice hissing like steam. "But you forget, we have weapons that can destroy entire planets. What do you have that could possibly compare?" John and Sarah exchanged a look. This was the moment they had been preparing for. "We were hoping you'd ask that," John said. He pressed a button on his wrist device. The hologram changed one last time. It showed a massive spaceship unlike anything the Council had seen before. It was long and sleek, bristling with weapons and strange devices. "This," Sarah said, her voice filled with pride, "is the EFS Humanity, Earth's first galactic dreadnought." The Council chamber fell completely silent. Every alien eye, tentacle, and sensory organ was fixed on the hologram. "It carries improved versions of all the weapons we've shown you today, plus a few surprises," John added. "We hope we never have to use it, but if we do, we'll be ready." As the human ambassadors finished their presentation, the mood in the Council chamber had changed dramatically. The dismissive laughter was gone, replaced by thoughtful silence and worried whispers. Zix-Zax stood up slowly. "Thank you, ambassadors," he said, his voice carefully neutral. "You have given us much to consider. This council will need to discuss the implications of your presentation." As John and Sarah left the chamber, they knew one thing for certain. The Galactic Council would never laugh at human guns again. 2 months after the humans' surprising presentation, the Galactic Council faced a new crisis. Zix-Zax called an emergency meeting, his metallic skin dulled with worry. As the council members gathered, a tense atmosphere filled the grand hall. John and Sarah, now regular attendees, noticed the aliens' nervous whispers and anxious gestures. Zix-Zax raised all 4 of his arms for silence. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, his voice grave, "a great danger threatens our galaxy." The hologram at the center of the hall flickered to life, showing a star map of the Milky Way. Red dots appeared at the edges, slowly creeping inward. "We have detected multiple fleets of unknown origin entering our galaxy," Zix-Zax continued. "They have destroyed several outposts already. We call them the Void Swarm." The hologram changed to show grainy footage of the attackers. Strange, black ships moved in perfect unison. Like a swarm of insects, they fired weapons that seemed to eat away at matter itself. Gasps and cries of fear echoed through the hall. John and Sarah exchanged worried glances. A tree-like alien spoke up, its leaves quivering. "What do they want? Have we tried to communicate?" Zix-Zax shook his head. "All attempts at communication have failed. They simply destroy everything in their path." The giant caterpillar alien that had once mocked humans now looked terrified. "But surely our advanced weapons can stop them." Again, Zix-Zax's response was grim. "Our energy weapons seem ineffective. The Void Swarm's ships absorb or reflect most of our attacks." Panic began to spread through the council. Aliens argued and shouted, some calling for immediate evacuation of border worlds, others demanding all-out war. In the chaos, Sarah turned to John. "This is bad," she whispered. "Really bad." John nodded, his face serious. "But maybe we can help. Our weapons work differently. They might have a chance." Sarah agreed. They stood up together, waiting for a chance to speak. But in the noisy confusion, no one noticed them. Finally, Zix-Zax managed to restore order. "We must act quickly," he said. "Our best scientists are working on new defenses, but we need time." A glowing gas being floated forward. "What about the humans?" it asked. "Their primitive weapons might surprise the Void Swarm like they surprised us." All eyes turned to John and Sarah. Zix-Zax looked at them thoughtfully. "Ambassadors," he said, "what can Earth offer in this crisis?" John stepped forward confidently. "We may be new to galactic politics," he said, "but humans have a long history of fighting against overwhelming odds. We'd be honored to help defend the galaxy." Sarah nodded in agreement. "Our ships and weapons might be exactly what we need against this new enemy. They're different from anything in the galaxy. The Void Swarm won't be prepared for them." Murmurs spread through the council. Some aliens nodded in approval, while others looked skeptical. The tree-like alien rustled its branches. "But your fleet is so small," it said. "How can you hope to make a difference?" "Sometimes it's not about the size of the fleet," Sarah replied. "It's about having the right tools for the job. And we think we have those tools." John activated his own holoprojector, showing the ESS humanity they had revealed earlier. Our dreadnought is equipped with experimental weapons designed to counter energy-absorbing technology. We've been developing them in secret, hoping we'd never need to use them. The council members leaned in, suddenly very interested. Moreover, Sarah added, our primitive ballistic weapons might be just what we need. If the Void Swarm can absorb energy weapons, they might be vulnerable to good old-fashioned bullets and missiles. Zixax considered this for a long moment. The entire council chamber was silent, waiting for his decision. Finally, he spoke. Very well, he said. Humanity has proven itself innovative and resourceful. We would be fools to reject their aid in this dark hour. He turned to the rest of the council. I propose we integrate human forces into our defense plans. All in favor? Slowly at first, then with growing enthusiasm, the alien representatives raised their hands, tentacles, and other appendages in agreement. As the vote concluded, Zixax looked back at John and Sarah. Ambassadors, he said, his voice solemn, your people joined our galactic community seeking peace and cooperation. Now we ask you to join us in war. Are you prepared for this responsibility? John and Sarah stood tall, their faces determined. We are, they said in unison. Little did the Galactic Council know, but this decision would change the fate of the entire galaxy. The stage was set for humanity to prove its worth among the stars. Alarms blared throughout the Galactic Council's space station. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Aliens of all shapes and sizes rushed to their posts, fear clear in their movements. In the command center, Zixax stood surrounded by holographic screens. Each one showed a different part of the unfolding disaster. Report, he shouted, all 6 eyes darting between screens. A crystal being floated forward, its voice tinkling like breaking glass. The Void Swarm has breached our outer defenses. They're attacking Centauri Prime. Centauri Prime was one of the most important worlds in the Galactic Council's territory. If it fell, a third of the galaxy would be open to invasion. Zixax's metallic skin paled. Where are our forces? Why haven't they stopped this attack? Our energy weapons are useless, the crystal being replied. The swarmed ships absorb everything we throw at them. We're losing. Just then, John and Sarah burst into the command center. They had been preparing Earth's forces for weeks, but hadn't expected the attack to come so soon. What's the situation? John asked, slightly out of breath. Zixax turned to them, desperation in his eyes. Centauri Prime is under attack. Our weapons are ineffective. We need your help now. Sarah nodded grimly. We're ready. The EFS Humanity and our support fleet are standing by. Good, Zixax said. Because right now, you're our only hope. John activated his communicator. Captain Martinez, this is Ambassador Chen. You are cleared to engage. Save Centauri Prime at all costs. A strong female voice replied. Understood, Ambassador. We're on our way. In space above Centauri Prime, chaos reigned. The beautiful blue-green planet was surrounded by thousands of black, insect-like ships. They swarmed around the planet, firing strange weapons that seemed to eat away at the defending ships and orbital stations. Suddenly, a massive portal opened at the edge of the system. Out of it emerged the EFS Humanity, flanked by a dozen smaller Earth ships. On the bridge of the Humanity, Captain Elena Martinez stood tall, her dark eyes fixed on the battle ahead. All hands, battle stations, she commanded. Prepare main guns, load EMP torpedoes, and kinetic strike missiles. The crew, a mix of humans and alien allies, rushed to obey. As the Earth fleet approached, the Void Swarm turned to face this new threat. Hundreds of black ships peeled away from Centauri Prime, racing towards the humans. They took the bait, Martinez said with a grim smile. Fire EMP barrage, widespread. The Humanity's guns roared to life. Instead of energy beams, they fired glowing blue projectiles. As they neared the Void Swarm ships, The projectiles exploded into webs of crackling electricity. The effect was immediate and devastating. Dozens of swarm ships suddenly lost power, tumbling helplessly through space. "It worked," shouted the weapons officer. "Their energy-absorbing shields are useless against EMPs." Martinez nodded. "Good. Now for Phase 2. All ships, fire kinetic weapons. Take them down." The Earth fleet opened fire with everything they had. Rail guns launched hypersonic slugs. Missile batteries emptied their loads. Even old-fashioned chemical rockets streaked across space. The Void Swarm, for the first time since entering the galaxy, seemed confused. Their ships tried to absorb the incoming fire, but these weren't energy weapons. Solid projectiles smashed through hulls. Missiles exploded against vulnerable spots. In the Galactic Council's command center, aliens watched in awe as the tide of battle turned. "Impossible," whispered the tree-like being. "They're actually winning." Zix-Zax couldn't believe his eyes. How? How are they doing this?" John smiled proudly. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways." The Void Swarm was prepared for energy weapons, not physical projectiles. On the main screen, they watched as the HFY Humanity plowed through the enemy formation. Its massive rail guns tore through swarm ships like paper. Fighters launched from its bays, peppering the enemy with missile fire. "Captain Martinez reports that the enemy is in full retreat," Sarah announced. "Centauri Prime is saved." A cheer went up in the command center. Aliens hugged each other in relief and joy. Some even hugged John and Sarah, all previous doubts forgotten. Zix-Zax turned to the human ambassadors, awe and gratitude in his voice. "You did it. You actually did it. The galaxy owes you a great debt." John and Sarah shared a proud look. "This is just the beginning," John said. "The war isn't over yet. But now we know we can win," Sarah added. As the celebrations continued around them, John and Sarah knew that everything had changed. Humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage, and the Void Swarm had learned a painful lesson. Never underestimate humans and their primitive weapons. The victory at Centauri Prime was just the beginning. Over the next few weeks, the Void Swarm launched attacks across the galaxy. But now, the Galactic Council had a secret weapon: humanity. Earth ships, led by the mighty HFY Humanity, raced from battle to battle. Wherever they went, the tide turned against the Void Swarm. On the jungle world of Nexus II, a group of human Marines found themselves in the thick of the action. Sergeant Maria Rodriguez led her squad through dense alien foliage. The air was thick and humid, filled with strange scents. "Keep your eyes peeled," Maria whispered to her team. The swarm could be anywhere. Suddenly, a sound like tearing metal filled the air. Black, insect-like creatures burst from the undergrowth. These were Void Swarm ground troops, never before seen by the Galactic Council races. "Open fire," Maria shouted. The jungle erupted with the sound of gunfire. Human rifles spat lead at an incredible rate. The void creatures, used to energy weapons, were caught off guard by the hail of bullets. One alien, a tree-like being named Groax, watched in amazement. He had been assigned to the human squad as a guide. Now he saw firsthand the power of human weapons. "Incredible," Groax muttered. "Their primitive projectiles are tearing through the swarm's armor." Maria grinned as she reloaded her rifle. Sometimes, old school is the best school. The battle raged on. The void creatures adapted quickly, using their superior numbers to push the humans back. But Maria had another trick up her sleeve. "Jackhammer, now," she yelled. Private Chen hefted a massive weapon onto his shoulder. It looked like a cross between a cannon and a machine gun. When he pulled the trigger, it roared to life. The jackhammer lived up to its name. It fired hundreds of explosive rounds per minute, turning the jungle and the Void Swarm into Swiss cheese. In minutes, the attack was over. The remaining swarm troops retreated, leaving behind piles of broken black carapaces. Groax stared at the humans in awe. In all my years, I've never seen anything like that, he said. Your weapons, they're so simple, yet so effective. Maria patted her rifle affectionately. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best, she said. Now let's go find the rest of those bugs. Meanwhile, in space, the battle continued. The EFS Humanity led a task force deep into Void Swarm territory. Captain Martinez stood on the bridge, watching as her ships engaged the enemy. Status report, she called out. Her alien communications officer, a blue-skinned four-armed being, responded quickly. The swarm's defenses are collapsing, Captain. Our kinetic rounds are bypassing their energy shields completely. Martinez nodded. Good. Prepare the main gun. Let's show them what humanity can really do. The EFS Humanity's main weapon was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was a massive railgun, capable of accelerating projectiles to a fraction of light speed. Main gun charge, reported the weapons officer. Target their command ship, Martinez ordered. Fire. The ship shuddered as the railgun fired. A streak of light shot across space, crossing the distance to the Void Swarm's massive command ship in seconds. The result was spectacular. The kinetic energy of the projectile, combined with its velocity, tore through the command ship like it was made of paper. The giant vessel split in two, secondary explosions ripping it apart. On the Galactic Council's main space station, Zix-Zax and other leaders watched the battle unfold. The chamber was silent, everyone staring at the holographic displays in disbelief. By the stars, whispered one alien leader. The humans, they're actually pushing the swarm back. Zix-Zax nodded, all six of his eyes wide with amazement. We laughed at their weapons, he said softly. We called them primitive, but look at them now. They're saving the galaxy. John and Sarah stood nearby, pride evident on their faces. This is what humanity does best, John said. We adapt, we overcome, and we never, ever give up. As they watched, more Void Swarm ships fell to human weapons. Rail guns, missiles, and good old-fashioned bullets proved to be the key to victory. The Galactic Council had learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes, the old ways were the best ways, and humanity, with its primitive but devastatingly effective weapons, had become the galaxy's greatest hope. The war was far from over, but for the first time since the Void Swarm appeared, victory seemed possible. And it was all thanks to the species the Council had once laughed at. Humanity had proved its worth, one bullet at a time. The great hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with excitement. Aliens of all shapes and sizes gathered, their voices a mix of relief, joy, and disbelief. At the center of it all stood John and Sarah, the human ambassadors who had changed everything. Zix-Zax called for order, his metallic skin gleaming under the bright lights. Esteemed members of the Council, he began, his voice echoing through the chamber. We stand here today because of an extraordinary turn of events. The holographic displays came to life, showing scenes from recent battles. Human ships darted between massive alien vessels. Soldiers with rifles took down terrifying Void Swarm creatures. Each image told a story of unexpected victory. The Void Swarm, which we thought unbeatable, has been pushed back, Zix-Zax continued. And we owe this miracle to the very species we once mocked. All eyes turned to John and Sarah. The human ambassadors stood tall, pride evident in their posture. Ambassadors, Zix-Zax said, bowing slightly. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I offer our deepest thanks and our humblest apologies. We were wrong about humanity. John stepped forward. There's no need for apologies, he said with a smile. We're just glad we could help. Sarah nodded in agreement. This is what humans do. We face challenges head-on, and we find ways to overcome them. A tree-like being rustled its leaves nervously. But how? It asked. How did your primitive weapons succeed where our advanced technology failed? Sarah's eyes twinkled. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, she said, The Void Swarm was prepared for energy weapons and fancy tech. They weren't ready for good old-fashioned kinetic impact. In simple terms, John added, they expected lightsabers. We gave them sledgehammers. A ripple of laughter went through the council chamber. The tension that had gripped the galaxy for months began to ease. Groax, the tree-like alien who had fought alongside human marines, stepped forward. I saw it with my own eyes, he said. Human weapons tore through swarm armor like it was paper. And their tactics. They adapted so quickly. Captain Martinez, newly arrived from the EFS Humanity, joined the conversation. The key was thinking outside the box, she explained. When energy weapons didn't work, we went back to basics. Bullets, missiles, even old-style cannons. Sometimes simple is better. The council members nodded, many taking notes. They were already thinking about how to incorporate human ideas into their own defenses. Zix-Zax raised his hands for silence. In light of humanity's contributions, this council must reconsider its stance. I propose we immediately elevate Earth's status within our alliance. Cheers erupted from many of the aliens. Those who had once looked down on humans now shouted their approval. Furthermore, Zix-Zax continued, I move that we establish a joint military command. We need human expertise to win this war. The vote was unanimous. In a matter of minutes, humanity went from galactic newcomers to key players in the greatest conflict the Milky Way had ever seen. As the meeting concluded, aliens swarmed around John and Sarah, eager to shake hands, or tentacles, or branches, with the representatives of Earth. Tell us more about these guns of yours, one alien asked excitedly. Can we see a demonstration of your bullets? Another chimed in. John and Sarah exchanged amused glances. We'd be happy to arrange some demonstrations, Sarah said. But remember, weapons are just tools. It's the people using them that make the difference. As they left the council chamber, John turned to Sarah. You know, he said quietly, when we first came here, I never imagined this would happen. Sarah nodded. Me neither. But that's the thing about humans, isn't it? We're full of surprises. Outside, the space station's viewports showed a galaxy at war. But now, there was hope. Human ships patrolled alongside alien vessels. On distant worlds, soldiers of a dozen species trained together, learning to use primitive but effective weapons. The Void Swarm was still out there, still a threat, but they had lost their aura of invincibility, and the Galactic Council had gained a powerful ally. As John and Sarah watched the stars, they knew that the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they had made one hell of an entrance. The age of human innovation in space had begun. And the Void Swarm. They were about to learn why you should never, ever underestimate humans and their guns. 1 year after the Void Swarm's defeat, the Galactic Council gathered once again. But this time, the mood was very different. Gone was the fear and desperation of the past. In its place was a sense of hope and excitement for the future. The Great Hall looked different too. Alongside the alien tech, there were now displays of human weapons and tools. A rifle hung next to an energy staff. A simple hammer stood proudly by a gravity manipulator. Zix-Zax, still the head of the council, called the meeting to order. Friends, allies, honored representatives. He began, his metallic skin shimmering. Today we celebrate 1 year of peace and a new age of cooperation. The chamber erupted in cheers. Aliens of all kinds clapped, whistled, and made joyful noises. John and Sarah, the human ambassadors, stood near the front. They smiled at each other, remembering how different things were just a year ago. Zix-Zax continued, and we owe much of this to our human friends. Their primitive weapons and creative thinking saved us all. He gestured to a group of humans in military uniforms. General Martinez, would you like to say a few words? Elena Martinez, once captain of the EFS Humanity, now leader of the Joint Human-Alien Defense Force, stepped forward. Thank you, Zix-Zax, she said. A year ago, We were strangers. Now we're brothers and sisters in arms. Human guns and alien tech, working together, proved unbeatable. She pointed to a holographic display showing new ship designs. And we're just getting started. These new ships combine the best of human and alien technology. Simple, tough, and very, very effective. The aliens murmured in approval. Many had come to appreciate the human approach to problem solving. A tree like being raised a branch. But surely now that the war is over, we can return to more advanced weapons. John stepped in to answer. Why fix what isn't broken? Our primitive guns worked when your energy weapons failed. Sometimes, the old ways are the best ways. Sarah nodded. Plus, we found that mixing human and alien tech creates amazing results. Like our new gravity guns, they use alien gravity tech to shoot good old-fashioned bullets at incredible speeds. The tree aliens' leaves rustled in excitement. Many others leaned in, eager to hear more about these hybrid technologies. Zix-Zax raised his hands for quiet. This is exactly why we've called this meeting. We propose a new Galactic Science and Defense Academy, where all our species can learn from each other. The idea was met with enthusiastic approval. Aliens who once looked down on humans now couldn't wait to work with them. As the meeting went on, John turned to Sarah. "Can you believe how much has changed?" he whispered. Sarah grinned. "I know. A year ago, they laughed at our guns. Now they can't get enough of them." Outside the council chamber, the changes were even more apparent. Human food stands had popped up next to alien ones. You could see aliens wearing human-style clothes and humans sporting alien fashion. In spaceports across the galaxy, ships of all kinds sat side by side. Sleek alien crafts next to tough human vessels. Many ships were new designs, mixing styles and technologies. But the biggest change was in how different species worked together. On a distant planet, a human teacher showed a group of alien students how to maintain a rifle. In a high-tech lab, alien scientists worked with human engineers to create new hybrid technologies. The void swarm was gone, but the galaxy wasn't taking any chances. Every day, the defenses grew stronger. And at the heart of it all was the simple human principle: be prepared for anything. As the council meeting ended, Zix-Zax made one final announcement. In recognition of Earth's contributions, we are officially changing the name of our alliance. From now on, we will be known as the Galactic Confederation of Planets and Earth. The chamber exploded in applause. John and Sarah hugged each other, tears in their eyes. It had been a long journey, but humanity had finally found its place among the stars. As aliens and humans filed out of the chamber, chatting excitedly about the future, one thing was clear. The galaxy would never be the same. The species that had once been laughed at for its primitive weapons had changed everything. And somewhere out there, in the vast darkness of space, any future threats to the galaxy would have to face a new reality. A reality where advanced alien tech and good old-fashioned human firepower worked side by side. The future was bright, and it was loaded for bear.